Got him. All right. Oh, this is when we get the laser. These guys have teleport abilities as well. Out of bullets. Okay. Yeah, the bullet management is a real thing. Yesterday I had a really fun time streaming 3 indie games off of the Steam Deck. They're on consoles as well, but they run really well on the Steam Deck. I took a look at Arcade Paradise. I took a look at Cult of the Lamb. But the game I'm going to talk about right now is Rollerdrome. And this is developed by Roll7, who make us the awesome OlliOlli games, the most recent of which was OlliOlli World. This is a different take on an action-oriented rolling game. Rollerdrome is kind of a lift on that old Rollerball movie starring James Caan from back in the 70s. And the whole idea here is that there is a blood sport in the year 2030 called Rollerdrome, where competitors will strap on roller skates and get armed up and go and shoot each other and blast each other to death in a crazy fusion of awesome stunts and tricks and over-the-top violence. And man, you think that this game is just going to be too much to handle with all of these insane flips and stunts and jumps and the carnage that's everywhere. And at first it's a lot. The game definitely asks you to take full advantage of your controller and utilize every single button and get accustomed to changing weapons on the fly. But once you overcome the game, and it's so important to play the tutorials to kind of just get into the groove and the flow and the feel of this thing. And once you do, and you are starting to pull off reloading in the middle of a flip and then blasting a sniper before they can get you, it just feels insane. It's a really incredible game to play, and I don't know if it is the best game to show off. The trailer looked cool. It has this kind of future from the past aesthetic, like it's a 1970s movie looking forward into 2030, which is really cool. You can almost imagine John Carpenter making the movie version of Rollerdrome back then, and I like that kind of thing, but it also is another cel-shaded game, so it looks like it's trying to be super hip and cool, like working really hard to try to be so slick, and that can kind of work against it. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, yeah, that looks interesting, but I don't know if they're going to pull it off. And it's also a 3D game, which we haven't really looked at Roll7 to make us in the past. All of the OlliOlli stuff has been side-scrolling, you know, with a little bit of back and forth into the environment. But for the most part, we haven't really tried this Tony Hawk style of thing that Roll7 has made before. And make no mistake, this really feels like Tony Hawk, albeit with roller skates and awesome weapons like a grenade launcher and a shotgun and a railgun and dual-wield pistols. You start off with 2 pistols right out of the gate. And so what you have to do in this game is you have to go from level to level and you beat all of these different objectives, very much like a Tony Hawk style game. You cross them off the list and then new stages are unlocked and more difficult opponents are unlocked. Eventually you'll have boss fights that you'll have to contend with. In between the campaign stops, which are all of these different arenas, you also get these playable narrative bits where you can walk around and read different items on walls and on briefcases and things, and you might overhear some chatter that kind of tries to flesh out the overworld story, which is cool, and it does give you the sense that there's a bigger, richer world for Roll7 to explore if Rollerdrome ends up becoming a big hit. And I kind of hope it does, because spoiler alert, this is a ridiculously fun game to play. Roll7 really have achieved what they set out to do. Now, it's a single-player game, and one of the questions that people were asking me as I was streaming this is there any kind of multiplayer? And I thought about how multiplayer could be achieved, because a huge part of the gameplay is slowing down time to be able to comprehend all of the chaos that you are dealing with. Because you've got phaser laser people that can teleport, that are blasting these blue lasers across the entire environment, and they're hitting you and hurting you. You've got snipers that are targeting you, and you have to dodge out of the way in real time. You've got people that are laying mines everywhere, and you need to roll out of the way of those explosions. You've also got rockets coming at you. You've got giant mechs that might pop up, and they're blasting all kinds of heat-seeking missiles and things that are coming at you. And so you are not only doing all of these tricks, and you pull the tricks off to reload your weapons, by the way. So the longer that you're in the air and the more flips and grabs that you can pull off, or grinds that you can pull off, or wall rides, the faster you're going to reload. And then you can slow down time and be in the middle of one of these stunts and take out an enemy, and you get bonus points for that. And you're also looking at a combo meter. And during all of these insane sessions, you're also crossing off objectives. And so there's a lot that your mind has to grapple with, and it's overwhelming. And I thought, how the hell would they be able to pull off slowing down time in multiplayer and having characters and opponents facing each other, and I don't think that they really could. I think that's the real challenge, and something that I think through all of this testing that's going to happen with people playing this game and streaming this game, Roll7 will be able to look at and assess and figure out maybe down the road, maybe there's a sequel to this or whatever, maybe multiplayer gets added. But I think the wise move was just to tune this first game and get it out there. And I don't think it's a super expensive first game either. I think it's at the $29 price point, and there were sales, I think, before the game launched, and I think it's kind of priced right for the amount of entertainment that's out there. But the idea of a co-op experience in Rollerdrome definitely gets my juices flowing, because that could be really cool. Even if it's just another player that you get to play with and you take on all of these different house players, all of these enemies that populate these different arenas, that could be really fun. But as it sits, all of these different arenas that have maybe breakable elements, a glass that you have to blast through, or lower areas that you have to get to, corridors that you have to slide down, and then a new area is exposed. They're all really, really well defined, with lots of awesome ramps and grind positions and collapsible walls and things. It's just a ton of fun to experiment and to play and to go back and replay these levels to kind of keep crossing off the objectives and to up your score. There are a bunch of challenges as well where you're asked to complete these stages in a certain amount of time, and you're trying to beat other fictional opponents' best scores, and you can absolutely grow your score count by having as many combo multipliers in there as possible. It's just a ridiculously enjoyable game, and I was playing this in isolation. I was under embargo, so I couldn't really tweet out about it or talk to anybody about it, and I actually sent an email back to the PR company that sent me the code for this thing. I'm like, oh my god, this is such a fun game to play, and I never do that, you know? Like, I'm always thanking people that send me the codes and stuff, but rarely do I go, oh my god, I'm having a blast playing this game. But that's exactly the emotion that Rollerdrome brought out in me. Yes, there are some frustrations and some challenges that are going to ask you to replay and replay and replay, just like a Tony Hawk game. But god, it's a great fusion of a bunch of interesting ideas with a cool aesthetic. And as cool as this game looks, and as hyped as I am to talk about it, it's just so much more fun when you've got the controller in your hand and you're pulling off this insane collection of moves and abilities. Rollerdrome is a total blast. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.